So as professional real estate, I've flipped property, I've wholesale property, but I don't really teach how to get started. And I often get asked, well, how do I get started doing that? One of the people who's done a great job has a fantastic podcast. I spoke here recently in Los Angeles, is Don Costa. Don, thanks so much for taking time with us today.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So as you know, a lot of people, I'm sure you come across them too, who are either leaving another industry or looking for more, want to get started. What should the first steps be for somebody to learn about how to get started either wholesaling or flipping property here in California?
You know, there are this age that we're sitting in right now has so much information. There's probably every rock you turn is going to have something for you, right? There's podcasts, there's YouTube, there are opportunities, to learn this business and to learn it right. You got to obviously pick and choose who you're learning from. So we have an amazing podcast called Flip Talk. I did a series for about 48 episodes called the Flip Talk Rookie Playbook, which is also out there on iTunes, where literally it starts with, I have a crazy, wild idea. I want to start this real estate investing thing. Where do I start? We literally go through week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. So you can start there. It's just amazing, because when I started, I'm sure it was the same way with you. It was like you had Carlton Sheets and maybe like one other infomercial person, and now the information is so abundant and amazing. And we try to just put out some amazing information as much as we possibly can. So
I think one of the differences, though, and I remember Carlton Sheets, I'm old enough to remember that. Right. One of the differences is that in those days, they talked about, come to the program and you'll get the details, come to the program, you'll learn the method. You actually give a lot of the details, a lot of the secrets, because I don't think there really are any secrets other than work hard every day and build a business. So you had the courage, I think, to put more out there than some of the people who are more fly by night. What gave you the courage to do that? What's your thinking behind providing so much information for free?
Well, when I started the podcast, okay, so that's a loaded question, and I'll give a brief summary. I lost everything in 2008 because I was an idiot. And that's probably a whole different podcast. I started in 2003. I lost everything in 2008 because I wasn't focused on my core business. I started all kinds of crazy businesses like a restaurant and nightclub and you name it. So when I got to a point where my business was operating without me and I was going, okay, what do I do next? I decided that I wanted to stay at least in the realm of real estate investing. And so I launched a podcast in 2016, and I originally launched it just to have amazing conversations. So at that point in time, my decision was always to give as much as I could. Like I said, we did the series Rookie Playbook, where we literally go through week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and it's very open. It's you probably pay $8,000 for somebody else to teach you what we teach you in Rookie Playbook, and it's just the way we've always operated. So. I like being real. I like sharing the real struggles in business. The fundamentals of this business are easy. It's the people and some of the other aspects of this business that make it hard. And we all have trials and tribulations. And so I try to be open about that. And so it's a mix of, we bring in experts. I share my knowledge. We bring in people just to pick my brain and ask questions. We try to mix it up as much as we can and just give it as much as we possibly can out there. We have opportunities to work with us, but those are on usually higher levels and systematizing your business and processes you need, stuff that it's a little harder to teach in a podcast. But, as much as we can, I want to change people's lives and give them opportunities. So
I think you really hit a couple things. There's a lot to unpack. One is that at some point you failed. Have you met anybody who's had great success who didn't fail at least once along the way?
Everybody that I know has had great success has failed more than once. I think it's that's our teacher, right? I mean, that's the only way we learn.
Right. And I think that if you have failure, you have the opportunity to learn the lessons. If you don't learn the lessons, you're going to do the same thing again and get stuck. But I think going in, not looking to fail, but knowing that's part of the process, I think is really important. So what is one of the first 1 or 2 things where you see people experience failure that causes them to give up, that you would say to them, no, that's not why you give up. That's when you push through it. That failure is not that bad. You can get through that too.
Oh man, that's another loaded one. Usually the failure point in the beginning when people just start out is confidence, not having confidence in the numbers, not having confidence in themselves, and they'll usually give up before they really fully give it the try that it needs to have. After that, after you gain confidence, after you know what a deal looks like, The next place, the next breaking point I usually see is not knowing your value and allowing, like private money lenders or contractors, or if you're wholesaling, cash buyers to kind of push you around in your business and not really owning your value. That's another failure point I see along the way. And then the next failure point usually is a point where they're trying to scale and they haven't built the right foundation. And so they're just scaling in chaos. And they usually scale themselves out of profitability is where I see the next failure point in a lot of businesses.
One of the common mistakes I see young people make, or otherwise a few get right in the beginning, is I tell them, get any job you can or work with anybody that will work with you to get started, because you're really looking for information. You're not really looking for compensation when you start. The information in the long run is going to compound over a 20, 30, 40-year career, right? So what are opportunities, or where would you direct somebody who wants to learn the business? Maybe they can't afford to quit their job. They got to get paid something full-time, but they need to do something in order, in the business, in order to learn, to get that experience.
That's a great question, and it leads to I think opportunities that people don't normally see, and that's people like us who run these businesses. We're always looking for ways to keep ourselves out of the weeds, right? The saying is, work on your business, not in your business. So we're always looking for individuals that can help us out. And if you're somebody who wants to learn the business, for instance, you want to, you want to wholesale, you're willing to pick up the phone and cold call, or you're willing to go door knock, or you're willing to do some of those things. You come to somebody like me and you tell us you want to do it. We're usually going to provide you the list. We're going to provide you a script. We're going to provide you some mentoring, because we want the deal, right? We want you to bring the deal to us.
Right.
And in turn, you'll get some compensation. Maybe it'll be a commission split. Maybe it'll be a deal split. It just depends on your agreement with whoever you're working with. But, I've done that many, many times where it's like, okay, let me run the numbers for you. Let me give you the ARV. Let me tell you what we'll buy it for, because I want to make money off that deal. And I'm willing to trade my time to help you, as long as you're not going to waste my time, obviously. And there are many opportunities like that, whether you're going to work for somebody doing some kind of gopher work for their project manager, so you can learn how to manage a rehab project. There's a number of ways that you can trade either a very low income for the effort you're doing, or time for the effort you're doing, or in some cases, if you become really, really good out of the gate, like negotiating with sellers, you might make some really, really good money doing it too.
It's so funny. I'm a real estate broker. I focus on probate real estate. And I had an attorney the other day who routinely, they'll call me and ask me for documents. And I research it. Either I pull up right away, or if it takes more work, I'll send to my assistant to pull and then send to the attorney. And the attorney said to me, well, if you want, I can just call your assistant directly and he or she can help me. I said, no. I have nothing better to do all day long than research documents for your files, because when you get what you need, you send me a listing. So I'm willing to do the work. And the thing that you said, I think, how many times have I offered somebody a chance to do something to get started, and they'll say to me, that's a lot of work. And like, well, yeah, but that's how you make a lot of money. Like, why doesn't that make sense to people? Somehow I got that lesson. Along the way, you must have got that lesson. Where do people go to get that lesson? Yeah, it's going to be hard work. It doesn't mean you're going to go in a coal mine and you're not going to suffer lung damage the rest of your life. It just means you're going to have to put in the hours, and the more hours you put in, the faster you get to the payday.
I think that's part of the frustration with those of us who are entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial. I quit my last job in 2002. I have not had a W-2 job since 2002. I eat what I kill. That's it. And if I don't get up and go to work, if I'm not successful at what I do, then I don't win. I don't make money. And it's amazing, because I'll have people come in and they'll want to partner with me on things. And literally, it's like I had a conversation with a guy the other day who wants to partner with me on a project, real estate related. It's a completely different business. And he comes in, he wants 30% of this partnership. And then he goes into this panic mode of, well, is there anything that you could pay me? And I'm like, well, are you going to be an employee or a partner? Because it's two different mindsets, right? We both have skin in the game, and we both have sweat equity. We're both rolling up our sleeves and going to work, or I'm paying you like an employee. And I think that's the one distinction is, you have an amazing opportunity to make some real money that could change your life in a business like this, but you're going to have to be willing to take some risk. And without that risk, there isn't that great reward. You can stay working for somebody and having your life dictated by somebody else the rest of your life. You can stay in a cage of the clock on a job, or you can have the freedom. You might work harder than you ever worked in your life for a little while, but you're trading that for freedom that unlike freedom you will ever have in any other thing you do.
So you gave up that W-2 in 2002. You said I gave it up for the most part, earlier, but then I kind of got back into it, kind of got seduced back into working for the man as a man in management, and gave that up about 5 years ago because I had the confidence to do it a second time. What is it that gave you the confidence to cut the umbilical cord of the W-2 to be willing to eat what you kill, which also means if you don't kill, you don't eat, right?
Right.
So what is it that gave you the confidence to make that jump when you did in 2002?
When I did it, I was getting ready to get married. I had left a job, and I wanted to go back to school. And my wife was like, "No, we're going to have kids. You need to go get another job." And I was like, "I'm not going to get another job." Well, she's like, "Well, you're not going to go to school for 4 years. We're going to have kids here. We're getting married here in 6 months. We're going to have kids." And so I looked in the mirror and looked at what I had as opportunities. And I had always wanted to be in real estate investing. I was like, if there's any time in my life that I'm going to have to make this work, it's right now. And I just went to work and rolled up my sleeves. And I started door knocking pre-foreclosures. That's what I did. I got in my car and I was OCD about it. I door knocked 3-4 hours a day, almost every day. And I just got really good at talking to sellers. And I'm an introvert. I have a podcast. I do all kinds of crazy things. You wouldn't believe it. I'm an introvert, but by nature, I'm an introvert. So it took me a minute to get comfortable with doing that. And I failed at a lot of my first conversations, but I wanted it bad enough. And I was willing to Monday morning quarterback every conversation, and I got really good at closing sellers. And that was the winning formula for me. It was like being good at acquisitions, locking up deals, because then I could rehab them and resell them or wholesale them for a profit. And either way, I was able to monetize that conversation. And I got really, really good at it. And like I said, I didn't look back from that point. In 2008, I got my life handed to me because I made more money than I ever made in my life beforehand. And I was stupid with it and thought it was never going to end. But that was the best thing I ever went through. I lost everything. And it was the best lesson. I wouldn't trade it for the world. It shaped me into who I am as a business person today. And I'm sure there'll be another kick in the pants that's going to shape me again, but I'm looking forward to it.
Now, you and I share, I think I'm an introvert as well. I mean, my favorite hobbies are reading books and swimming. I swim in a swim team where you don't talk to each other. You're under the water swimming. Right. And yet I talk to people all day long for work because I feel like I'm helping people. I'm looking for the opportunity. Mm-hmm. What was it that helped you kind of get out of your shell? Was it just the need to make money and you had to talk to people? Was it by talking to people you developed the comfort and confidence? What was it that got you from being introverted? And you and I meet people like this all the time, that they're scared of their shadow. And yet sometimes you see that guy 2 years later or gal, and they're doing great. What was to help you get out of that mode?
I think it's all of it. I needed it to work. I was in a position where I wanted it bad enough, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I had done door-to-door sales. I had done cold calling for other companies, and I'd failed. I'd last a day or two because it wasn't in my nature. I wanted this bad enough. Mm-hmm. It was something I was like, I have to do this now. I don't have any choice. And it was what I wanted to do with my life. And so desire trumps DISC. You got the DISC test out there, the personality test. It's one of the many tests. You got so many personality tests, but it's one that's referred to in this industry a lot. And desire trumps DISC. I always say it. You can twist yourself out of your personal norms if you want it bad enough. So that was number one. The money helped, but something you said that I really want to focus in on was, having the conversations. Did that help? And the answer is yes. One of the biggest fears that all of us have getting into this is I don't know what to say to a seller. I don't know what to ask. And so you avoid having conversations. And for me, it was putting myself in the fire and having those conversations and making mistakes and not asking the right questions that I learned how to navigate those conversations. And the more conversations I had, the more confident I got in my ability to have those conversations and navigate them and do well with them. The last thing I want to say is, even though I'm an introvert, I've learned that I'm a hunter, right? In the sense that I enjoy the negotiation and the win of the negotiation more than I do the money. Mm. And that adrenaline rush, that thrill that I get in the negotiation with the seller or a contractor, and being able to navigate that and get a win in that negotiation really is a thrill for me. And that was something that I learned, and that motivated me to have more conversations.
To this day, when I get a new contract signed, whether it be a listing or an escrow, I call my wife and say, honey, who's the best real estate agent you know?
Right.
It's like from a scene of a movie. where an astronaut asks who's the best astronaut, he asks his wife that. But there's something thrilling about somebody saying, I believe in you, I have confidence in you, I think you can help me, that really reaffirms. That's, like you say, more exciting than the money. I like getting paid, but frankly, the money just shows up as an email in my bank account. When somebody really sends me a contract, they're really saying, I believe in you, I want to work with you, or in a wholesale deal as well. You're making money for somebody along the way, and you're getting a portion of it. Or if you're flipping a property, you're helping somebody buy a property. So that is the excitement of this business. How do you keep yourself? You've been doing this for a while. You've been doing a bunch of deals. You got a bunch of podcasts. How do you keep the freshness of the business so it's exciting to you and doesn't get stale?
Part of the nature of the business, especially when you're rehabbing, does keep it fresh, because every project is a new project. It's a new challenge, new opportunity. So for those of us who are a little ADD and don't want to do the same thing all the time, rehabbing, buying rehabs, doing that kind of stuff, the challenges that come with it, the opportunities that come with it are always new and fresh and really, really cool. I will say that after 20 years in the business, there are times where it does feel a little stale. I've been doing this or that, and I know how easy it is to get on and drive some leads and close a deal and make 30 grand on a wholesale. So it's almost boring now for the hunter in me. That aspect of it. That's one of the reasons why I started the podcast and I started teaching and started giving back and doing the things that I do, is to try to keep that that naive optimism you have when you are young and fresh in this business, that naive excitement, if that makes sense.
Well, and relive that moment through somebody else, right? Because you can't have your first contract again. You already had one. But I find when I help somebody get their first contract as an agent, list their first property, close their first escrow, get that first check, it's probably in some ways more exciting today than it is when I close a deal. I'm closing deals all the time. Don't get me wrong, I want to close more, but it's not the same life-changing excitement that when somebody's new on my team or I help them pull out of a financial situation. That's what's really exciting for me as well. So let's talk about building long-term wealth, because there are people here who are looking to start their career and need to get into something. There are other people who really have income, they have some money put aside, but I don't believe you're ever going to save your way to wealth. You might, theoretically, obviously, we all know you can, but so few people do. Yet real estate can offer such a level up financially so easily as investors. So how would you encourage somebody who's, they work for a company, they have a 401k, they put money in stocks and bonds, and they look at real estate, as far as them getting involved in making investments? How do you encourage them, and where do you kind of direct them to get started?
I think knowing what it is you want to do and having a plan, having an end goals is very, very important. And each individual person is going to be different. One of the things that in that situation, I try not to do is give a blanket answer. It's one of those things where if I had a conversation with you and I knew what your resources were, what your goals were, and what your threshold for pain was, I could put a plan together for you. If you have available capital, lending to somebody that's rehabbing is a great way to learn the business, learn the numbers, and learn rehab. Just make sure that you are taking the time to understand who you're lending to, because that's very, very important. You want to make sure you're lending to somebody that's legitimate. You always want to do a note deed of trust on a property, at least that's what I believe. So your money's secure, and when the property sells, you get your money back and all that kind of crazy stuff. But that's a great way, if you have available capital, to be able to see inside a project, see the numbers, see what they're doing, see how long it takes, have conversation with them about the project and why they're doing certain things. From there, and then it's just, it's deciding what you want to do. Do you want to be a buy and hold landlord? Do you want to get in and fix and flip? Do you want to wholesale? Do you want to do a combination of all of that? And finding either the right RIA to go to, or the right mentor to learn from, or there's a number of ways, the right podcast to listen to. It just depends on how fast you want to go from that point. Do you want to bang your head against the wall and figure it out yourself? Do you want somebody to just basically lay the road out for you, and you kind of make a decision from there, how you want to approach it? Whether, like I said, that's a podcast, that's a mentor, that's building your network, and how many other dozen ways you can do it.
So I'm sure, like me, you see a lot in the news about, gloom and doom, interest rates. I know in the multifamily area, there's a lot of delinquencies historic levels of delinquencies. I saw an office building in LA that sold for half of its price from 4 years ago. So there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of blood in the streets, a lot of blood coming. And yet I also know for me, because I've been through this a while, this is the greatest opportunity of my lifetime. I never had the money I have. I never had the Rolodex I have today. Never had the knowledge I have today. So I'm busy working on that. And I'm trying to say to people along the way, I'm not selling anybody anything. I'm not selling them investing with me. I don't have that program. This is the greatest opportunity ever. Don't let somebody scare you out of it. And if everybody's afraid, that's the time to stand firm on something you know and something that will work. What do you see going on this year? Where do you see your business as a flipper? Obviously, you're kind of caught with the property until you dispose of it. So you're taking a longer term risk than I do on my investments. How do you see the concerns about interest rate market, sales market, political unrest, whatever all that is, and how's that factor into you as a business person?
The first thing I'll say is I don't have a crystal ball. I'm guessing like everybody else, when it comes to this kind of stuff.
I have a crystal ball, by the way. It's right there on my shoulder. If you look, it doesn't really help me. Yeah, it doesn't really work.
Okay, so when it comes to we wholesale and rehab, when it comes to rehab, and we try to cherry pick the stuff that we know we can get in and get out of pretty quick. We're not in anything that's a long-term project right now. Like I'm not going to do a year project. I'm just not. I don't have the threshold for it as an investor. So we're going to do stuff we can get in and out of like 3 weeks, maybe 5 weeks tops on a rehab, get it back on the market, get it sold, and get it turned in about 100 days. The market's not going to turn so much in 100 days that I should get caught with my pants down. That being said, so having a model that works for you and your pain threshold, I think is very, very important in a market, especially when there's question marks. We're going into political year 2024. My bet, and the Feds are already signaled that they're going to drop the interest rate at least a couple of times. The question is, what is that going to do to the market? You have a lot of pent up demand, people wanting to buy properties right now, but there's not enough inventory available, at least in the markets I'm in. You have a lot of buyers or a lot of sellers who want to sell, but it doesn't make any sense to sell right now because you're basically trading across for a property that your payment's going to double, right? I mean, your interest rate's gone up. So it doesn't make any sense to sell, but they want to sell. That itch to move to something else is there. So where is that threshold where it triggers sellers selling? And that's the $1 million question, right? Is it the next couple of interest rate drops? Does it have to drop pretty significantly? And that's what happens in that kind of feeding frenzy with the demand, pent up demand to sell and the buy-in demand there is one going to overtake the other and drive prices up or drive prices down? And I don't think we're going to see that in 2024, honestly. I think it's going to be tight for another year, and you just got to run a good business and be smart and watch what happens, and kind of see how you want to adjust your business as things kind of change in the market and things come along in 2024 and 2025. That's what I think. I mean, I may be crazy.
No, I think you're right. I did a video yesterday on the market, and it seems to me, you look at the data, it's going to take 3 or 4 years to work this interest rate gap between the market rates and the average rate of homeowners. So you couldn't change it in less than that because it would be too chaotic. And historically, it's taken 5 to 7 years. So I think this is what I try to think about is this is the market. This is the cards I'm dealt. When you play poker, you can get a bad hand and still win. You get a good hand and lose it if you don't play it properly. And so as a professional in the business, I try to tell people, every market's opportunity to win. You just have to figure out the right game plan that's going to work for you and find the right opportunities. I think you're in the same spot where you've adjusted your game plan to be, risk aware in some regards. I'm saying this to you. Meanwhile, I just made an investment that's going to last about 15 months. I'm saying, I am in that deal a long time. I'm not very happy about it, but I'm protected. It's one of those things where you have to kind of know what you're doing.
Right.
Okay. So last words. Obviously, we talked a bit today about people starting their careers. We talked people looking to level up. You have the Flip Talk podcast program. So is that the best place for people to get started with you as far as building their own flip business or maybe working with you or learning alongside you? Is that the best place to go, fliptalk.com?
If you go to fliptalk.com, we have free resources there. We also have some information on our coaching, and we have a mastermind community. If you're an active real estate investor who's successful in their business right now, and you're looking for a community of active real estate and successful investors, we have an amazing mastermind called the Inner Circle Elite that meets 4 times a year that you can definitely apply and join, and and we'd love to have great people be a part of it. We have an, I hate to say it this way, we have an anti-douchebag policy. Hopefully that's not a bad word on this podcast, where we don't want anybody in there that just really has a bigger ego than their bank account. And then we have an amazing coaching program as well that you can apply for. We can have a conversation about, and then of course, like I said, we have all kinds of free content, free podcasts, free resources, and so many other things. So you're welcome to check those out. And if one of those is a fit, great. If you have any questions, you can always email me at don@fliptalk.com. I do respond. And I love answering questions as much as I possibly can.
I think that's the thing that excited me about reaching out to you was, I think, and I try to live at the same place, which is I give away so much for free that people want to work with me. I find the opposite, that when you kind of hold stuff back, those people do that are people that I wouldn't want to work with, and I don't want to recommend them to others. So even though I've only listened to your podcast, I haven't used you as a coach or as a mastermind. It's not quite my jam. I do recognize your expertise and your success, and wanted to share you with my customers who are interested in getting involved in wholesaling and or flipping property. So Don, again, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate talking to you. And this is the LA County Real Estate Investor Association podcast. We do this every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. This is affiliated with the LAProbate.com is the website. Second Thursday of the month, free event in Los Angeles. Don spoke there in January. Look forward to seeing you guys soon. Thank you so much. Again, thank you, Don. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.